Welcome back, everybody, and happy Wednesday. It's your girl, Emma G, coming out from the beautiful day here in Washington, D.C., which I'm very excited for. I feel like it sets the bar so perfectly for today's conversation. If you're new to the space, welcome. You have stumbled across Real Talk with Emma G and Ra, whenever she comes on, where we talk about all things mental health, all things positivity, all things, moving forward, especially for us high functioning entrepreneurs, musicians, creatives, therapists, healers, all the good things. But before we break into introducing our first guest, how are you going, Rawaniya?
I'm so good. I'm a little bit envious of where you are right now. I'm not going to lie. It looks so beautiful, and just I can even hear the birds. So, yeah, it's nice to actually just see you in that space because I get a sense of it even just being here.
Well, thank you. I learned a couple of years ago, and I don't know if you are aware of this, but apparently the smell of decomposing nature works as kind of nature's natural antidepressant. So I feel like it's like just a really beautiful grounding space to literally be in the wild, especially for today's workshop or today's session, because the other things I'm doing today are I'm hosting a workshop, a stress management workshop for journalists. So, we all need a little bit of grounding today.
Totally, that's it. I was literally thinking about having my feet on the grass barefoot
Yeah.
as we're standing there.
And speaking of barefoot, I don't know if you know this. When I first moved to the States, one of the things that people used to always kind of laugh at me about was refused to wear shoes for about maybe the first 7 or 8 years of living here. And as you know, that's a huge part of growing up in New Zealand, where we are both from. And you're Maori. I'm not going to speak to your experience, but when I was teaching at Te Wānanga Aotearoa, the Tertiary Institute over there, we sort of put down a big emphasis rather on the pepeha. Do you want to speak to the pepeha really briefly?
I mean, I can, but I was laughing at the barefoot thing because
Okay.
it's something that people often comment on when it comes to me. I don't like wearing shoes because
Really not.
I feel so much more grounded and connected, and it helps with my mental health and well-being and spiritual well-being, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, really quickly, when it comes to PPH, what it is how we introduce ourselves as Māori people. So instead of doing what a lot of people tend to do, which is talk about like what we do for work, we introduce ourselves based on where we're from, and we talk about our mountain, our ocean, our river, our tribe, and then also who our ancestors are, as a way for us to connect with other people and as a way for us to kind of organize like where we fit within the world. And I love doing that. And I know that that's something that you also do and have been doing since being in America.
110%. I mean, it's all right here in my tattoo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially because like in Fiji, they don't have all of the levels, but we have a bird, a tree, and a fish. And of course, my family fish is a shark. So yay. But the reason why I bring that up, that was like a massive segue rather, to introduce today's guest, because he is a musician. He is the founder of the Levitators, and his new single just dropped today. And it is literally called, brah, Where We Come From.
Stop it. I did not know that.
I knew you wouldn't. So without further ado, please welcome our guest for today, Eli Lev.
Yeah,
Hey, friend.
welcome.
So
Hi,
congratulations.
That's so cool. Congrats on where we
thank
come from.
you. Yeah, where we come from. It's got a nice ring to it. I'm glad you all are into it already. It feels good.
Yeah.
I
How
just,
did it
I,
come about?
Yeah, it's interesting. Most of my life, I never really was interested in where I came from. Like your mom and your dad sit you down and it's like, let me tell you about, the family. And it's like, I don't want to hear about it. I want to go to lacrosse practice. They're like, did you know that your grandma? And you're just like, blah, 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 blah. And then at a certain age, I guess this age, I have become very interested in it. And Emma, I got to give you some props because when we connected like 9 years
8 years
ago
ago.
in DC, where
Yes.
you are right now,
Yes.
where you came from was part of your story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that actually really resonated with me. It took about a decade for it to really come through. Uh,
Planting the seeds.
that about you and your music, like your music is who you are, where you come from, your identity, and you have such a fascinating kind of family lineage, and I just kind of percolated for a long time, and then I realized that yeah, who I am is where I came from, and like who we are is our roots, and we are the echoes of our ancestors. We are literally their walking dreams and aspirations.
Mm.
And especially now when it seems like maybe our country and our world has a collective amnesia about how we're all immigrants in a sense. I feel like it's an important thing to explore, an important thing to talk about.
I love that. I love that. And, it's funny because I remember speaking with you a couple of times about, the lineage part of things. And I don't know if you remember me telling you about this, but several times, especially being a person of color in this country, whenever I meet new people, I'm always asking them where they're from because it's about connection. It's about finding that alignment. It's about, oh, you're from Iowa? Cool. My family's in Iowa because believe it or not, I'm a quarter Norwegian, things like that. But the amount of times that I have, you know, started that conversation and then had people respond with, oh, you're being too nosy, or that's a racist question, etc. The reason I'm asking this is because, you're on tour at the moment. I think you're in the middle of your European tour. Is that correct? Yes?
I finished
Or
the
you
European
finished your
tour.
tour?
I finished my spring tour. I'm actually back in Maryland right now.
Ah, okay. So we need to do tea. Okay, cool. Well, so I'm curious then, as you were going around Europe, what were your conversations around, being from America and sharing that part of yourself and connecting with people who may not have known much about you and your lived experiences here?
Yeah, I mean it's really interesting. We do have to be aware that like where people came from has been dangerous for
Mm,
people in not just the U.S. but all over the world. We think about immigrants and refugees and backgrounds, and that can be weaponized against people, unfortunately. So I understand how for some folks they've been taught as part of this generational trauma to not talk about where they came from. Many
mm,
Americans, when they came over, it was like, leave the old world behind. You are American. Like, don't speak the language, learn English, be the customs. I think now we've had a little bit of a shift where there's more of a pride in that, which is awesome. But I think that's why it's also important to talk about,
mm,
our ancestry and our lineage. And when I was an American in Europe, it was a very interesting time to be an American in Europe. Because that was when pretty much, we were, I don't know, punching all of our friends in the face
mm,
internationally. So it was interesting to like be in that space where it's like, politically, geopolitically, my nationality right now has a certain, what was it? I don't know, certain reputation.
mm, mm, mm,
you know and they
Mhm,
talk about this actually, soft diplomacy. America has been like, the cool country, like you want to like drink soda and have, McDonald's and be like Michael Jordan and, like all that kind of stuff. So right when I was in Europe was right when, like JD Vance was in Europe telling everybody that we were going to put tariffs on them. So it's very interesting because a lot of folks were curious and they wanted to talk about it, and I
mm,
was fine with that. Like it's funny how we have stereotypes of people from where they come from, but let's lay it out there, okay? As an American, the stereotype is I am dumb, I am fat, I have a gun, I eat fast food, I don't
mm,
know my geography, and I love beer. Interestingly enough, I have a master's degree. I don't own a firearm. I don't eat fast food. I'm mostly vegetarian,
mm,
and like pretty much all the stereotypes I'm not necessarily fit. So it's important for me, I think, and for them to connect with an American who doesn't necessarily have like the archetype of
mm,
the American tourist in Paris or something. So it was good. It was good for, I think, me and for folks to see you know, that really we're all just humans, and like the whole kind of nationalistic stories is just kind of like put on us as power plays a lot of the times. But it was a fascinating experience.
Mm-hmm. I really love how you mentioned like that reputation about being an American, right? And how people see and perceive it, again, based on generalizations. I was having this conversation recently about being Maori, and you know, similar to you, like I've completely broken outside of that stereotype of what it means to be a Maori woman. Like for me, if I had have gone down that route, like I would have gotten pregnant at 14 or 15. I'd probably have 5 children by now. I'd be living on welfare. You know, I wouldn't have an education. You know, and I'd probably be in a relationship with a partner who's physically abusive, most likely. Yet, like, you know, I've got a degree, you know, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't have any children, you know, I take care of my health and well-being, like, well, like similar to you, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm curious to know is like, how did you, like within yourself, navigate like how people might have perceived you as an American, right? Because you said some people are curious, right? But how did you navigate that, like within your own self and your own personal identity, knowing that people might have these preconceived notions and judgments?
Yeah. You know, part of my heritage is being American, part of my heritage is being Jewish too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of opinions out
Mm.
there right now about, you know, like Judaism, and like if I'm Jewish, do I need to support the state of Israel? And if I'm not supporting Israel, like am I really Jewish? Like is
Mm.
Israel and being Jewish the same thing? And there's a lot of gray area there as well. But again, I think, you know, Emma, you've given me a lot of strength and a lot of modeling of what that can be to really just own who we are. Because what that'll do is it'll bring up those stereotypes, like you're saying, Ra. And then people are going to have to kind of come to terms with their own stereotypes, because it's not actually what the reality is. You know, we can't actually put those on people that we're meeting. So I found that, you know, this new song coming out today, Where We Come From, talks about my Jewish roots. It talks about my Southern roots.
Mm.
You know, okay, so I have family from the South. You know, in the North, this people from the South are dumb and racist. You know, that's the stereotype. So again, this is a way for me to confront that, and for the world to really kind of, you know, not necessarily go straight into those tropes, but to see people who we are, for our stories to be part of who we are, but not for people to hold it against us, but to be curious and to ask and to be inquisitive about what that line is, and you know, all the knowledge we can gain from each other through those.
To start the conversations, really, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
about, you know, because when I tell people, gosh, so I was delivering a keynote earlier this year in North Carolina at a youth symposium summit. And one of the things, you know, the very first thing I do when I go on stage at most of these events now is pretty much give them my English version of a pepeha. I tell people I'm from New Zealand, but my father's from Fiji, my grandmother was from Norway, my grandfather's from Iran, my mother's from Pennsylvania. I was born in New Zealand. And then I always say I'm overcoming racism in my body. And there's always that like awkward laugh of like, oh, can she say that? Like, but it starts that conversation of, okay, how can I connect with that? I've always wanted to go to Fiji, or I've only ever heard of Fiji water, didn't know that people lived there. True story, people have actually said that to me. So I'm bringing this all up because, you know, as you have evolved as a musician, and obviously I've had the privilege of watching you develop and grow and manifest and change and shift and, you know, all kinds of things from the very first time we met at the Folk Life Festival with Smithsonian. You know, you seem to have really developed this, I don't know, this uncanny ability to just celebrate and honor community and diversity and love and safety, which are obviously, you know, near and dear to my heart. But I'm wondering, like, is that why you've decided to go in the direction, unintended, of these recent albums, or, you know, what's the How has this facilitated your journey through making sure that you are preserving who Eli is amongst your developing career?
Yeah, that's a great question. I like what you said, like you're working through like the racism that like exists within you, because, I am a white male in the United States, right? I am the oppressor
Mm,
and I am the oppressed at the same time,
mm.
if you want to like,
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah.
So the only way we can really heal these fissions and this historical trauma is literally by working it through ourselves, through our body, like how that feels. I'm picking up that, you two have a very strong cultural background and connections, but in each of those cultures runs these stories, for better or for worse. That's just, we are living these stories physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually in our relationships with ourselves. So this exploration is literally like a way to save myself. It's like my own salvation. It's like bringing my mom's side of the family who, worked in cotton mills in South Carolina, but probably received land from the Native Americans that were pushed out in the South at the same time. And
Right.
also bringing that to terms with my dad's side, who came from Eastern Europe through New York to Chicago, and them running from the pogroms. And then also coming to terms with the fact that those same people in that same Jewish religion is working through that historical trauma right now on another population in the Middle East. So the only way that I can like heal the world is really healing myself. And these songs are that process that I'm working.
I really love that, because I think that, there are a lot of people who are in this space who want to be the savior, like they want to be the hero, they want to be the savior, they want to be the martyr. And I say this, it's like rife throughout, the coaching industry, the entrepreneurial industry. And as a leadership coach as well, like I noticed that, a lot of people are wanting to do this external work versus actually, what do I need myself, like internally? Like I loved how you said, like, to save yourself first, right? Because when you can look within and you can kind of do, like what Emma was talking about, like addressing the racism within, like that's when we actually really start to shift the trajectory of like the world and the communities that we live in.
Yeah.
What's been like outside of like this journey here of like, learning more about your identity and where you're from and your own personal roots, like what else has been really prevalent for you when it's come to saving yourself in your own words?
Yeah, I think, in this album that's coming out, Past Lives, there are literally sound bites, sound audio of my ancestors speaking. So my bubby Sarah was a main character in my first song, Echo, and her voice literally is like speaking through years, the generations, to connect with me. And now she's on this song, speaking her wisdom to the entire world. And where we came from, this is the album, the single cover. This is my actual ancestors in South Carolina. They lost this house a year later. He died, she died, he died, and they all had to work in the cotton mill. So this is the actual photo of where we came from, where my family came from. And I look at these folks and I see like just hope and also despair at the same time. And then I can kind of trace that into my own reality. So like bringing these voices back to life is a way for me to kind of work through what they went through, to realize it's not just all in my head, but there's like some DNA, there's bio, there's like this whole consciousness going on. This is a live performance video of Echo. And it's been really, really eye-opening and also like deep work. You're talking about the savior complex. We all want to save everybody else, and tell them what they're doing wrong and tell them how, but it's really, it's the internal work, that looking inside that I've found has been a great vehicle for this music. And Emma, I think the music, I've seen that turn in your career as well. It used to be just like not all about the music, but the music was first. But now the music is like an entry into our process as a
Yeah.
human being. It's an entry into what we want to, what community we want to create, what our message is. And I'm really glad that people like the songs, but it's almost like I need to write the songs and
For
release
you.
them just for my own benefit. You know what I mean? It's like my own therapy. So yeah, it's been a really big shift in my music career, thinking about it that way.
Oh yeah, I so get that when you talk about needing to write it for yourself, like first and foremost, and that being a process for you. Emma wants to say something.
Sorry. Yes. No, I was just, you were talking before about, you know, that hope and that despair, right? At the same time, the duality of your ancestors. And speaking of like how both of our careers have evolved, Eli, over the years as we've turned from musician to almost, I want to say artivist, but not in the way of necessarily activism, but just personal ownership and you know, learning to love ourselves and learning to heal from within. In 2020, when I wrote the Born in Crisis album, one of the reasons why I chose the word crisis is because in Japanese writing, the word crisis is demonstrated with two characters, right? One for danger and the other for opportunity. And I think that's one of the coolest things about, you know, how when you are aware enough, self-aware enough of your journeys and of why you do your work and what your why is in general when it comes to the songs we're writing and how we're performing and how we're showing up for the world. When we recognize that in every pleasure, there's an opportunity for pain, and in every pain is an opportunity for pleasure, and that growth and responsibility. That leads me to, I guess, like, yes, you're doing the work. I know that my experiences have definitely shown me numerous people in my community and my audiences coming to me and saying, hey, look, how can I do this? Help me transform my pain into power. You have a much more subtle way of doing things than I do. How, like, have you had much experience with that in terms of people's responses to you? What advice would you give to your fans, audience, and community to help them help themselves through your music and beyond?
Yeah, I like that we both invite people in. You know
Oh,
what
you
I mean?
have to.
It's a
You have
participatory.
to.
Yeah. It's participation, and you know, I'm learning more about you, and I'm really excited to actually learn more. But you know, I'll say my kind of piece here. I'd love to hear what you think about this too. But like having that community and inviting people in makes my path through music stronger. It supports what I'm doing. It gives me like, you know, encouragement and a reason. And it almost is like we're all in this kind of like together. Like I'm not just like this like silo or this like island in the ocean. And when I see other people going through those processes like the same way I am, it actually, you know, there's a trick because it could either strengthen our egos and be like, yeah, this is all me. I wrote these songs, you know?
Right.
Or in my case, what I'm working on is dissolving the egos and that like, I didn't necessarily write this song. This song came through me as a channel and now I get to experience it. And as many people can experience it as well, depending on how strong of a community I build. So that's been kind of like my switch as well. And this has taken years, you know, and I'm sure there's much more to go, but I'm just where I am right now that I'm realizing that, you know, I'm necessarily like a vessel and each one who is a vessel through that song and that process can grow. And I'd love to hear your kind of take on that too, Rob.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because that has been my process a lot with my writing and specifically poetry. So I have a poetry book called You Are Not Alone. And that was a deeply healing process for me. And when you spoke about like being a vessel, for me, what I felt like I was experiencing was I was hearing God's word and hearing what it was that I needed to hear to heal myself. And then I shared that with my community that I was building online. And then the feedback that I got from that, there was like a co-creation. So when you speak about like community, it's like looking at it from that lens of co-creation and realizing that what I was sharing, right, was something that other people needed to hear as well. And it made so many people realize that they're not alone in their own journey, which is often what a lot of people experience, right? And why they desire community is they want to feel like they're not alone, and they want to feel like they belong, and that there's meaning and purpose in the world. And so, I love hearing that, you invite people into the process, and you let that be a process that's, the word that's coming to me is like amalgamated, which I actually don't really know what it means right now. That it's, it's like amalgamated into this experience where, you're being the vessel, but you're also noticing what's happening within the community, and then also within yourself, and you're creating from that place. And so that's kind of what I got from what you were sharing, and love hearing it because it's really similar to my own personal process with the way that I create as well.
Beautiful. What was the name of that poetry book again?
You Are Not Alone.
You Are Not Alone?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. He's Googling it right now.
Yeah.
It's funny because
after the show, I'm going to get it.
Didn't you... I remember a few years ago, you were actually going out and writing songs for people, correct, Eli?
Yeah, I still do that. Yeah, I do custom songs for folks. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're both spurring on this, the co-creation piece. I think is just so beautiful, and I'm really glad to see that you're doing that kind of work. I find, a lot of the time when I'm working with my empowerment through songwriting clients, being that vessel for them often leaves them feeling like, well, wondering, was I part of this process, right? Or, was this actually me? Whereas I think it's really important initially, and then I help them realize, well, actually, every single line here was yours. I might have flipped the words a little bit, but in order for rhyme structure to be a thing, but, every single thing is definitely coming from them. How do you balance that whole vessel, being a vessel energy for yourself? Because it's important, even ego aside, it's important to make sure that you're still looking after your own fullness as opposed to just continuing to empty the vessel, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, as creatives here, like, maybe I'm going to be honest, I don't really know how it works. Like, I'm just in awe. You know what I mean?
This is true.
What is actually happening here? Like, what is inspiration? What is the muse? Why can I write some days and I can't?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I go 8 months without writing a song, and then 8 days it all just kind of happens? You know what I mean? Like, I actually don't know, but I am very grateful that it happens. And there are folks, the professional songwriters, they wake up, they get their coffee, and they write songs the whole day, and I admire that. That's amazing. But, as Emma, and Rob, probably, as an entrepreneur, like, we're not just songwriters, not writers. We are everything. So we don't have 10 hours to just do that. We are like all the things.
Which is why you can reduce your songwriting time down to 25 minutes to complete an entire song. I got you. Been there, got the t-shirt. I think my record is 12 and a half minutes.
Wow.
From conception to final, to finality.
Yeah.
It's
fast.
Yeah. And it's amazing. And the thing is, it's accessible to all of us. Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody is like, we're all creative. We all have conversations. We all live in the world. We all like make decisions, and we create every time we go out or stay in, whatever. But I like to invite people in for the participation so that they can feel that connection as well. Like, maybe I'll do like a music video, or like, invite people to send in videos or just dance or something. I'm going to do a music video for where we come from. People are going to hold up like a video of their relatives and give me like their name and where they came from below, and we'll just kind of put them up.
Nice.
And, maybe that sparks something in them, or a conversation. So trying to make it like accessible, like we're all here. We're all like in this creative world together. Yeah, there it is. Dancing on the lawn. There's Nicole. Yeah, there's Farah.
Love it.
That's
Love it. A hedgehog. I love it.
yeah. Who's that weirdo? Oh my goodness, he's going into it. So yeah, this is an example of having people to participate and feel part of that experience. So I think that's how I do it. Not to feel like I'm a gatekeeper of creativity, but to really kind of like, share it with folks and have them feel like they're part of the story.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I am so excited for your new song. We just had Megan Phillips type in the chat there saying that she's obsessed with it. So, I mean, it's pretty dang cool. And again, I just want to say, how beautiful it's been to see your evolution as a songwriter over the years. From the days of us writing, tumbling together to now, all the directions in your music. I'm so grateful for you and the leadership that you're exhibiting with the community that you're building and the music that you're, just empowering people with. I think that's so beautiful. Of course, we have run out of time because this always happens, Ra. This always happens.
It always happens. There's
Dang
always like so many more questions that I want to ask, but I'm like, oh, we've only got 30 to 35 minutes, and yeah, it never feels like enough, right?
It never feels like enough. But luckily, you have a website, eli-lev.com. Your new song just dropped today. But do you have any insights, any parting words, any ideas, the other direction, dude? It's on the other side. I don't know. Do you have any parting words you'd like to sort of share with people about mental health, about you, about music, about creativepreneurship?
Yeah. Emma and Ra, you two are fantastic. And as creatives, I think we underestimate how important it is to connect with each other and really hold each other up and support each other in what we're doing, because then we can support our communities and that has like a rippling effect. So thank you both for doing this. I love the real talk, and I can see, some levitators jumping in here. And I'm excited for this project. Past Lives is probably like the deepest work I've done musically, and I invite folks to join me in it. So yeah, my website's there. At the bottom, there's a little button that says join the Levitators, and then where we come from, they can listen to the track wherever we listen to music. So I'd love to keep levitating with folks, and I'm really excited about this journey. This is the second song on an EP of 5 songs.
Love it. I love it. Super appreciate it. I love the fact that this is your deepest work. I hear that on a cellular level, because I don't know if you knew this, but in 11 days, my book and complementary album, connected album drops. And again, super, like, it's vulnerable work being a musician, being a creative. Listen, he's got confetti going everywhere for vulnerability.
Having fun.
The vulnerability confetti. I love it. Thank you, Eli. Thank you
Thank you so much. I loved the conversation. It was so insightful. And I loved how you just really weave in and you share, like, your own story and the work that you've gone through to be able to get where you are today, but also just like how that informs all your work, and just seeing that creative process come to light. It's really inspiring. And also the community part of it, I think, is just really important, especially from a mental health perspective, because, there are so many people out there who, do feel that they need that connection and that place to belong. So, thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Are you saying that they're not alone, Ra?
Go get Ra's poetry book called You Are Not Alone, and stay tuned for Emma G's book and album release coming up very soon. Y'all are
super
fantastic.
excited.
I want to be like you when I grow up.
Listen, game recognized game, sir. Until next time, friends, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. This is Mental Health Sounds Like This. Real talk with Ra and Emma G. Peace.